Lowe's knows how to help you save. This July 4th, get up to 40% off select Whirlpool kitchen appliances. Plus, get an additional 10% off when you buy 2 or 3 select major appliances. And when you buy 4 or more, you'll save an additional 20%. Find the right appliances and features that fit your kitchen's unique needs and style. Shop Whirlpool 4th of July deals at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location.
Yes, indeed, you're tuned into Matthew Wright with your Sunday breakfast on this, the 22nd of June. If you're just waking up, then you may be waking to the news that Donald Trump ordered US bombers to strike against Iran last night. They hit 3 areas, we believe. Fordo was one of them. That's the uranium enrichment plant, believed to be something like 100 metres below ground in remote mountainside. It's been fair to say that Keir Starmer's comments just a few moments ago have not gone down well with you at all. So for just a recap, he said, Iran's nuclear program is a grave threat to international security. Iran can never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon, and the US has taken action to alleviate that threat. The situation in the Middle East remains volatile, and stability in the region is a priority. We call on Iran to return to the negotiating table and reach a diplomatic solution to end this crisis. And now, in amongst all of the comments that this just sounds so weak from Starmer. Rather witty comment from Beatrice, who says the statement from Keir Starmer is diplomatic but disappointing. It fails to mention Trump's bombing is in contravention of USA Constitution and international laws. We, the UK, are not quite at poodle level, but maybe the poor relation in a Jane Austen novel reliant on the protection of a rich and amoral relative. Ouch. 0345 6060 973, the number for your reaction to events overnight and to our Prime Minister's comments. I'm joined now by LBC's Washington correspondent Simon Marks. Good morning to you, Simon.
Morning, Matthew.
What do you want to tell us this morning? What's your reaction what's your visceral reaction to events overnight?
Well, I mean, I think the realization that we all now have that Donald Trump, as late as Thursday of last week, was bluffing, and that the madman theory, in these competing personalities between Donald Trump has won out over the man who on Thursday night appeared to be engaged in a decision to run out the clock, kick the ball into the long grass. He was going to give the Iranians up to another 2 weeks to continue negotiations. It is now apparent that all of that was a bluff, and that the decision that he has made is not dissimilar to some of the decisions that Richard Nixon was making in the Vietnam campaign back in the early 1970s, when he embraced this kind of madman theory and was determined to make sure that his opponents at the time, the North Vietnamese, were constantly wondering what he was going to do. Was he really capable of the kind of massive non-nuclear strike that President Trump in this case has unleashed on Iran? And let's be clear about the scale of this attack. In Fordo alone, that was the uranium enrichment facility buried deep in Iran's mountains, they dropped a dozen of the 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs from B-2s that flew over that site while we were sleeping overnight here in the UK. A dozen bunker-busting bombs. So when the president took to the microphones at the White House, flanked as he was by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he was absolutely clear that he had succeeded in obliterating Iran's nuclear facilities. Take a listen to what he said.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
And he also made it clear that there is no daylight whatsoever between him and Israel and its Prime Minister.
I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades.
Now, let's be clear about just how far Donald Trump has traveled in 1 week. It was only 1 week ago that he was publishing a post on his social media platform saying that America had nothing to do with Israel's initial strike on Iran. Then, of course, he went to the G7 summit, grudgingly agreed to sign that declaration calling for de-escalation in Iran, but then flounced out of the G7 summit early, saying that he needed to get back to Washington in order to avail himself of the secure facilities that, of course, he enjoys at the White House. That then sort of stoked the idea that maybe he was thinking of engaging militarily. Then we spent several days in which the president was being assailed by some supporters of his America First agenda, including people like Tucker Carlson, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the influencer Candace Owens, all of them saying, please do not go ahead with this assault. Remember that you were the president who in your inauguration back in January said that you wanted to be remembered for the wars that you didn't start. And now, of course, we learn after he said on Thursday night that he'd give Iran up to 2 more weeks to try and negotiate all of this away. Now we learn that he was planning this strike on Iran's nuclear facilities all along. And the questions this morning, Matthew, for the Prime Minister, who on Wednesday of last week told reporters in Kananaskis in Canada that he had sat next to Donald Trump at dinner the previous night and was convinced that Donald Trump believed in de-escalation. That
blindsided, wasn't it? That's the guy from the Telegraph
extraordinary.
Said. And that's a damning observation from the Telegraph there, that Keir Starmer was completely blindsided, and that might explain why so many of you appear so unimpressed by his comments this morning. Simon Marks, thank you.